We have an approach called collective. Let's say there's a young person, 14, 15 years old, use a gun and shot some places in Montreal or put a fire some area. We're going to arrest that person. But the same team that did arrestation have a preventive team. On the site, we speak to the parents. We look at the brothers and sisters of that person. Maybe it's 8, 9, 10. Right away, we focus on that person to try to find the right help for that person not to follow the same pattern of the brother or the sister at 14, 15. And this collective approach has been working extremely well.
That is Montreal Police Chief Fady Dagher at a press conference today, kind of looking back on the year and looking ahead, of course, to 2026 as well. And he is on the line. Chief, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Hello, Mr. Rand.
I want to just ask a couple of things. First of all, with respect to what we just heard there, and you talking about how there are sadly now younger and younger people getting involved in crime. And I understand the part as well about, you know what, and I think it's a great idea to go deal with families as well. Why do you think this is happening? Can I ask? Or do you have a real reason for why you think this is happening?
Well, I'm not a sociologist, but one thing I'm learning when I'm going deeper and deeper in the discussion with the family and with the youth is the youth are going through three reality. The reality at home, the reality inside the school, and the reality in the public services outside on the streets. So they try to fit, those young kids are trying to fit in three different realities. So they have a shock of culture, the shock of values between those three realities. And they're really trying to find a way of keeping focus on what they want to do. And suddenly they meet some other people, bad people. They have bad frequentation. Then the behavior start to be different. And slowly they slipped into the criminality. And I'm not talking anymore about 17, 18 years old. We are talking here about 13, 14, 15 years old. It's younger than before.
You know, and when I said, do you know the reasons? I mean, I'm guessing part of this, and there's not a whole lot of you can control here, part of this has to do with social media. They're much easier, of course, to find now,
yes,
I guess,
right.
for criminals, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Social media, I'm sorry, I forgot that. But you're absolutely right to be exposed to social media and to be almost 24 hours on it. It doesn't help.
I would ask, too, in relation to that clip we played, so you talk about getting involved with families because obviously you're not born into crime when you're that age, right? You're basically dragged in, if you will. What do you have special officers who deal with this?
Yes, I keep saying that those kids, they're not born with it. They're not born criminal, and they're not criminal 24. And it's very sad, Mr. Rand, when we arrest a young kid of 13 years old. We're like, we cannot be, of course, we want to stop the crime. Of course, we are happy to arrest that young person. But in the meantime, it's a kid. It's a different ball game. It's a complete different ball game to deal with a young person who doesn't really know what he's doing. But what we are trying to focus is, okay, we have to arrest that person because there's no way we're going to tolerate that kind of crime. And as soon as we arrest the person, we have a preventive police officer on the team who had social background, are very close to, they know the spirit of the family. They try to connect with the family. They try to connect with the younger brothers and sisters. And right away, we try to intervene as a village, as a partner in the village, trying to get other partners involved, like the soccer coach, the teacher at school, maybe a grandparent, maybe an uncle, somebody who has some significance to that kid, to the younger kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, who are witness watching the brothers or the sisters getting involved in criminality and trying to change the behavior and not letting the younger brothers getting involved eventually after in 5, 6 years. And it's working well, actually.
I was going to ask, where does this come from? This come from what you were doing in Longueuil before you took over Montreal, this idea of getting close to people and just not about policing but about helping as well?
Yeah, because at one point, when you know what, for us, the police department, we're always going to be able to arrest the criminals. That's not an issue. Every time we have a crisis, every time we have gun violence, or we have stolen cars, or we have PCU fraud, we always find a way to get ahead of it and we arrest the people. But the thing is, as a society, we cannot focus only on the repressive side. We have to think about the next generation. How are we going to create the right behavior, the right choice for the kids? So this is why, since Longueuil and now in Montreal, and even before in Saint-Michel neighborhood, we keep talking to the cops and telling them, okay, now we arrest the person, what's next? Even when we arrest that person, one day or another, they're going to step outside the jail and they're going to come back to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
How do we welcome them back in the neighborhood? Do we still arrest them, or do we find a way to put them back on the right track? At least let's try. Because if not, we're going to keep repeating the same thing, and it's going to be costing the police department, is going to be costing to the citizen even more and more money. So let's try to find a way to prevent and to lower the crime, to slow down the crime.
I want to touch on something else you said today at the press conference, and the headline kind of says it all. So you have statistics that shows now that Montreal has become one of the safest cities in North America. Now, if that was a matter of saying, and that's the end, perfect, but it's not, because then you said there are still, and we know this, residents here have a sense of insecurity, and that's not just something they feel, that's something real on the street. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's interesting because numbers and statistics are very, very positive, but I don't like to talk about perception. I like to talk about reality and feel if people really feel insecure on the street, because when you meet or when you cross the street and when you cross someone who is disorganized mentally, who has some behavior, and even if the person doesn't even move, is just lying down on the floor, can be a homeless person or somebody else who's in a very vulnerable situation. The citizen who's walking, going to the tramway or going to the bus or going to the shopping center, seeing that kind of person in front of them, they are shocked. Not shocked because they believe they are better than them, no. But when you feel the misery, and even sometimes you can even smell the peeing around, or you can even see the person like disorganized, suddenly it's the population who feel insecure. There's not even an attack. There's not even an assault. Just to see that kind of people on the street, it's very sad, and people feel very insecure. And if by any bad chance that person start talking to you and will scream at you or attack you, then we go. People feel much more insecure.
I wonder, too, you mentioned about, the fact that you're seeing a different type of person now on the streets, perhaps, that we didn't see years ago, right? And that's, how do you deal with that? You're talking about younger people, women as well, who would not have been there before, but they're there now.
It's very interesting that you mentioned. I'm happy that you're talking about it, because usually we talk about homeless people and mental health all together. It doesn't work this way. Sometimes, yes, it is with mental health, but now what we see, younger people, younger women, homeless, and because we are seeing that the people on the street as the new profile, there are people who have a lot of issues with the finance, with the economic crisis. They have a hard time to pay the rent, and maybe 6 months, 8 months later, they're on the street. And that kind of people, we never dealt with them before. We always dealt with much more people with the health system, with the health system for the alcohol abuse, for the drug abuse, with mental health abuse. But the new clientele that we see on the street, it's very, very sad, but it's a different ballgame again.
I just wonder, too, and I know that, mental health is obviously a big part of what you're trying to do at the, the STM. I just wonder, too, or the SPVM, rather. I wonder as well, are you seeing more police coming out with that training now? Is it a specialized group of police officers? How does that work?
We are doing a lot of training. We are doing a lot of training for the recruits. But what we realize also, we were doing many scenarios with mental health. During the scenarios, we have psychiatrists, we have specialists that come evaluate our scenarios, and we can change them, adapt them, following what they are giving us as a suggestion. But now we just hire almost 1,000 new police officers, which is 35 to 38% of those patrollers on the streets. Mm-hmm. And we have to focus on the training now. I keep telling my team, it's good to recruit. In the recruitment, we are doing very, very well. But now, how do we train him during their career? Because a police officer, when he comes in for 30 years. In 2026, our issue are the youth, the mental health, and the homeless people. Okay, fine. What's going to be in 2035? So in 10 years, how do we train that police officer again? So the continuous training, we're going to take a lot of focus on it, and I'm going to add more police officers in our center of the training, just to make sure that we're going to be able to give them the right training during the next 30 years, and they're going to be able to face the new challenges in 5, 10, 20 years.
I'm going to run out of time, but I want to ask something else that you brought up. I thought this was fascinating. You know, we all know about organized crime in the city and the fact that you've been doing a good job, with arrests, et cetera. But then you brought up something I don't think I've ever heard of someone discuss, which, as you said, is disorganized crime. What did you mean by that?
Well, when you arrest a big group of organized crime like the mafia or the bikers, what it creates on the system, it creates a disorganized criminal trying to take over and trying to take control. So we knew by hitting hard on some families and some mafia and bikers group, we knew that street gangs and other gangs gonna try to take over. But those people, they're not organized yet. So what they do disorganization criminals. So they try to take over, but they don't have the experience. And we have to deal. Like right now, sometimes we're dealing with the fire next to the business places, and it's young kids. It's young kids are getting those those contracts, and it's not even controlled by anybody. We don't even know who are the sponsor of those contracts. So it's really disorganized and our team of our investigators are looking at who's the next group going to take over and going to control the organized crime. And as soon as we're going to know, we're going to be able to focus on them, and in a few months, few years, we're going to arrest them also. You're right to say that on organized crime in June, we really had a big operation, and Italian mafia in Montreal, and that really destabilized the whole system of criminals in Montreal.
I just wonder, as a final question, I mentioned off the top, I didn't necessarily give you credit, but when we say Montreal is the safest city in North America, based on numbers, what does that mean exactly?
Well, you have to understand, right now in 2025, we saw the statistic, Montreal, Laval-Longueuil, the biggest area of Montreal, in the metropole of North America, including Canada and United States, we are the lowest. It's 1.16 per 100,000 citizens. So when you look at it in the statistic, we are the lowest, the safest city from homicide. In 45 years ago, Mr. Rand, Montreal was one of the worst metropole city in Canada in homicide crime. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying sometimes when you have a short vision, you don't see that we evolve a lot, and we cannot be sad about the past. No, the past was worse. 45 years ago, we were one of the worst cities, and now we are the best city in North America. So Montreal is very safe, but I'm very transparent. The sentiment of insecurity is still present, and I don't think it's going to go away very soon, as we have to take care of those homeless people on the street, and we have to find them housing and the services that go to those housing. So it's going to take a middle or long term, but the city of Montreal, honestly, are investing $30 million. They are opening much more refuge for the people, for the homeless people. I think we're going on the right way.
Chief, we will leave it there. Always appreciate when you provide us with some time, and congratulations on what seems like a very, very successful year. All the best in the future.
It's a pleasure. Thank you again.
Take good care. Fady Dagher, Montreal Police Chief.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.